Have you ever wanted to do something or create something but never really got around to it? Well, as you can tell, I've always wanted to do Blender, as I've seen some really cool creations by Pino Prime, Pixels with a Z, and Irrational Mango, and legit so many other people. Now, I still like gaming, but I want to replace this funny guy with a 3D funny guy. But all 3D artists have a style, do they not? I've always loved this low poly style, and it's easy. So I found this little tutorial by Crashtoon Academy. Cause I ain't making that stupid donut. Shut up, I ain't making that. So day one, I actually decided to learn how to actually navigate and use Blender because I've actually never used it before. Also, I decided to make a little shortcut cheat sheet later if I forget. But 5 minutes later, I decided, yeah, I've got this. I'm easy. And I already knew how to navigate Blender perfect. And I had no problem, so I moved on and actually making the model. We did this little setup, changing the display device because I totally know what that means. More importantly, the start to any 3D model is referencing. After importing the pictures I need to make this, I needed to put it to scale, which comes with this skeleton little fellow. After that, I learnt about the 3 main transformations: vertices, faces, and edges, which will be a major part in making the 3D model. I also learned other things such as bevel and extrude. Now we are actually onto the modeling. I started modeling the shoe, which was actually much easier than I thought it was. Just following the lines of the references, checking loop cut when was needed. This was actually a nice surprise considering how daunting I thought 3D modeling can be. At this point, I just started to realize something, that this line didn't match up with this one, meaning I didn't set up the references correctly. So I attempted to fix it, keyword on attempts. But without realizing, I moved on to the leg. Pretty simple, grab yourself a cylinder, change how many faces, and line it up to the reference. And boom, something I've always wanted to do 3D modeling, and it finally looks achievable. So day 2, I actually started modeling the hips. This is where I learned about this fun little thing called mirroring. This essentially mirrors one side of the body to the other half, which is great, because this model specifically that we are making is perfectly symmetrical, and this shaves off half our time. At this point, it was sort of self-explanatory that I went ahead and completed the basic shape with the knowledge I had. After finishing the side, they just completely ignored this area. Obviously, I had some things to say.
What? We're just going to ignore this? And this? There's clearly different here.
After clearing out this area, I learned something new. The fill tool. This allows us to fill up the area between the edges so we don't get random holes in our model. Also, I had to fix up the issues that I made before, as it would affect me in the long run. So next we move on to the waist and jacket. And I'm not gonna lie, it's all coming together. Like, I've actually done something. However, I was making the jacket and I was wondering how I'm going to get to that collar. This is where I finally get to use the extrude button. This modeling was going so well, but then I realized the reference was still not like that. I tried to tinker with the body, but I think I just made it worse. So I just moved on to the collar, and it wasn't actually that hard to make, and it was actually much easier than I thought. To the end of the day, I quickly made one of her arms. So day 3 is actually looking awesome, even though it's just half the body. I still love it. So let's move on to the coolest part though, the head. So first we started to make it using planes. The issue, they're kind of flat, and last time I checked, faces aren't flat. So we needed to extend this face out a little bit, and it's pretty simple. You grab the new tool, the knife tool. It's very similar to the loop cut, but you choose 2 different places. So we formed a little nose. This way you can extend it out and give it some depth. After meddling around with the face and giving it more shape, I was taught about references and how other people use them for modeling. Too bad I won't use them. Day 4, I forgot to record a little, so now she has this little helmet that will eventually turn into hair. This is definitely much more difficult than the rest of the body is, as there's a lot more components to it. Anyway, I started with the bangs. Then I moved on to the back of the hair, which was actually quite fun to make. Though the hairstyle was kind of just spikes, I'd like to experiment with different hairstyles in the future. I struggled a lot with the middle part of the spike, but I eventually got there in the end. I found that you can actually separate the objects, which is actually really useful, because when we start working underneath the hair, we don't want to see the rest of it. Though, as I was completing the bottom part of the hair, I found myself not exactly following the tutorial and kind of just going with the flow, which was actually really fun. After I turned off the mirror effect so I can add the bangs, this makes sure that everything doesn't feel so symmetrical and feels much more unique and different. After, I simply mirrored the leg and the arms, which is actually super useful. Now, welcome to texturing. This is where the model starts to become alive, rather than just a shape. Essentially, you'll be using UV unwrapping because it's a low poly model, and it can fit this really simply. It's basically you just copy this 2D face onto this 3D face. Simple, right? All you have to do is go to the materials, choose the one you want, highlight the faces, and then slap it on. It's pretty simple and easy, but it's just very time consuming. As we watch the sped up footage though, I will say there was parts that was pretty difficult and I had to finick with them, but I kind of got there in the end. So sure, some parts are a little low res, but since it's a low poly model, I don't think it really matters too much. After it was done, I noticed that the model had much more accessories than mine did, so I decided to add them on my own, using my own knowledge. And I think I did pretty good. Day 5, I start rigging the body. This allows me to do all those little, poses that you see. The first you gotta learn how to do it, right? Which basically is just which way does the bone look. Gladly, I don't need to make the whole rig because we got this handy little dandy plugin right here. Now, all I gotta do is match his bones to the right places. And it's really quite that simple. This is the actual hard part, fellas, because this did not turn out right the first time. So I kept going, trying to figure it out, and we found this little weight paint and stuff, right? Now, weight paint essentially makes it so the bones affects the painted stuff. If you didn't understand that, it means more red equals that's what it controls that area, and blue means it doesn't control it at all. If you don't understand that, go watch a YouTube video. We don't want that, right? So after a damn long time of fixing it, I finally got it so when you move stuff, it doesn't move. But then we started to move on to the actual animating. What? The face, very different to how to animate it than the rest of the body because it doesn't have bones in it. It is just a texture. So the way we animate this is very different. First, we're going to learn how to put a bone controls it, right, in the model, and then changing the texture of the face to face. After it seems that I've kind of forgot to record, essentially we had to make a bunch of these little boxes that will tell us where the face should be placed. Using the texture of the bunch of different faces, then this bone controls the Y value. So when we move this bone, the face will change depending on how high it is. But to make this specific and easier to use, we made another bone doing the same method, but just for the mouth. That means we can use different eyeballs and different mouths at the same time to make different faces. And it will be much easier to implement faces later on because we can just add another box, right? Also, I found this button that makes it so the body parts won't stretch when playing, which is perfectly what I needed. And then to end it off the day, I did a little pose and a photo render to see exactly what we're getting into. Day 6, I tried using the knowledge I gained from this to make more vampy colors, so making the hair black with red tips and a darker jacket, but I do hope I can make an actual vampy model with the knowledge I gained from this. Day 7 is the last day. I mean, technically I kind of finished this in 5 days and it came out pretty good. So if anyone was like me and wanted to get into 3D modeling but wasn't sure, just do it. It's really fun, and you get this little fun guy at the end with some creation skills. It's a rewarding process. For the rest of this day, I just did some poses like you see me doing right now. Thanks for all watching, and I hope you subscribe. It's free, and let me know you want to see next. Please, I have no ideas about playing League of Legends, and I don't think anyone wants to see that.